Hi, good evening everyone. Good evening, sir. We had a nice break. I think everybody is full of energy. So before we start off, I just have two very simple questions for all of you. And it's a very simple yes or no question. So if you agree, I just want a loud yes. If you don't agree, just stay silent or give me a loud no. Alright? So the first question is, how many of us want to be extremely successful and happy in life?
Yes.
That's it. I'll ask again. How many of us want to be extremely successful and happy in life?
Yes.
How many of us are ready to fail?
Yes.
What happened there? If the loud was just, if the yes was just as loud as the previous yes, I would have stopped my talk and I'd have to go on for another 10 minutes. Alright, but still, since the yes was not as loud, I'll just try and change that thought in your head with my experiences and how I perceive things. Alright, so ideas, dreams, passions are the most volatile and perishable item in this world. Every idea, most of the ideas die at the first barrier that they face in life. You think of becoming an actor and you think, oh, I'm not that good looking. Gone. The idea is finished, right? Every idea, every passion, every dream has to be protected, nurtured, nourished from external forces and from internal forces so that it becomes a success, right? Free advice, on the other hand, is abundant. Anybody you talk to, successful, failure, you talk to a professor, you talk to your parents, you talk to your friends, you seek advice, everybody will give you advice. Everybody has advice. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Yeah. And what are the typical kind of advice that you get? If you ask somebody, I want to be successful, this is something that I want to do, but I'm not sure about it. The advice you get is, if you want to do it, just do it. That does not even make any sense to me. How do I just do it? I don't know how to do it. I don't know what's stopping me from doing what I want to do. Other spectrum of the advice comes in, why don't you just settle down? What does settle down mean? The third advice, I think you all got this, and that is why we are here. Why don't you do an MBA? I got that advice, I did an MBA. I'm sure many of you got the same advice and even an MBA as well. Alright? So what does this mean? How do I break barriers? Everybody's different, everybody wants to do something of their own. You have an idea about life, about career aspirations, but how do I break my barriers? I don't even understand what my barriers are, right? So let's try and understand our barriers. How can we do that? Everybody's familiar with Porter's 5 forces?
Yes.
Yeah? Everybody?
Yes.
Alright, so we're going to do a fun experiment, alright? It's very difficult to identify, what's stopping us from doing what we really want to do, how to identify what my barriers are, how to deal with those barriers, and how to pursue what I want to do, right? So you're going to do a fun experiment. Porter's 5 forces is, the mecca of marketing and strategy. I think you don't know anything else after MBA, but Porter's 5 forces everybody knows, right? So we're going to use that. We're going to use corporate strategy to understand what really goes on in our mind, in our personality, when we are thinking about doing something of your own, right? If you think of it, building a company is like building yourself at the end of it, right? You're building a company, you think of strategies, you think of marketing, you think of sales, you think of product, all of those things. But when it comes to building an individual, an individuality, we don't really give too much thought to it, do we, right? So let's do that, let's try that today. Let's use Porter's forces to understand what are the different barriers that we create in our mind or that other people create for us, and how can we tackle that, right? So what's the first big, one of the Porter's 5 forces? Bargaining power of suppliers, right? Everybody understands this?
Yes.
That suppliers have too much bargaining power, and especially if you're like a startup who's just starting out and you want to convince a supplier to give you raw materials on credit because you don't have any money, you're just starting up, right? Would any supplier give you raw material on credit if he does not believe in you, or if he does not believe in your idea? No, right? Now compare that to your individual life. Who are our suppliers in our life? Our parents, and they have tremendous bargaining power, don't they? If you have an idea that, Mom, I don't want to do an MBA, I want to do something else. I want to be an actor, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to ride bikes throughout India, anything. And you're shit scared to say that to your parents, aren't you? You think that, there's sense of obedience that is there in us. There's a sense of, thankfulness towards our parents, that whatever parents are saying, we have to obey by that, otherwise we'll piss them off, or they'll be unhappy, or we'll disappoint them. These are the thoughts that go into our mind, and most of the times, what we do is we don't even tell our parents what we really want to do in life, If we do tell them, and if they say no, we get frustrated, we start throwing tantrums. Try throwing tantrums to a supplier if you're running a business, it won't work, right? So how do you deal with that? If you really want to do something, and if you really believe in your idea, why can't you talk to your parents about it? Come up with a pitch deck for your parents. Tell them that this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to achieve it, and I'm going to be very happy doing this, and I'm going to be very happy once I become successful in this. I am very confident that 99% of the parents would come on board. But our approach is always the opposite. You get frustrated. You don't let me do what I want to do. You don't understand me. Suppliers don't work like that. Suppliers, your parents have invested a lot of their life in you, right? They've invested their money, their time, and all they want from you is to be successful and to be happy. That's really, at the end of the day, every parent wants that, right? They don't really want to bog you down or anything. It's just that they feel that they know what's best for you. And that's because you haven't been able to tell them or convince them what's best for you, right? So the next time, you are in a situation where you see somebody who's a supplier in your life, your parents, your teachers, your elder siblings, anybody who you think is a supplier in your life, try and convince them, as if you were running a business, because that is what you have to do if you're running a business, all right? Let's move on to the next course. Bargaining power of buyers. Now this is what we're dealing with right now, placement season going on. Recruiters are our buyers, we will just sell ourselves to them, whatever they say, finance karna hai, high CGPA, right? That is the idea of everybody. Everybody wants to go to an investment banking job. God bless you if you want to do that. I did that, not very fast, but still, okay? You want to do that? The idea that is, I have to convince this guy that, I want this job. And how do we go about that? If you go sit in an investment banking interview, 90% of the interviews, this is the line that, the interviewer would ask you, why do you want to join my company? And you would say, your company is the best company, sir. This is what we do. You say your company is brilliant. It is one of the best investment banks in the world. It will give me a lot of learning opportunities, and it will really help me kickstart my career, right? Who cares? He knows that he's the best investment bank in the world, right? If you're running a company and you build a product, and if you go out there and try to find a buyer for that product, and if you tell him, so this is going to really help me, and you are a great guy, and if I sell my product to you, it will really help me. He doesn't care, If you want to sell your product, you have to tell him how it's going to help him, right? You're going to tell him that I've created this, it's brilliant, it's going to help your company grow X, Y, if it's a SaaS product. If it's a consumer product, you would tell him that it's going to make your life easy, right? That's what you're going to do if you're running a company, right? So as an individual, currently our buyers are our recruiters, our boss, if you're working in a corporate setting already, and if you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, they're our buyers, you please them, convince them. So next time, you're talking to a buyer in your life, try and think about how you can add value to them, sell yourself to them, If you want an investment banking job and you're a new campus, I'm sure not all the top world investment banks are coming to TEDxIIMKashipur right now, right? What can you do? If you're invested in investment banking, why don't you create a pitch book, of two potential companies that should merge and that would create tremendous value, Create a pitch book and send it to all the lead investment bankers in all these investment banks. What do you have to lose? They're anyways not talking to you. Send them an email, create a pitch book, you'll at least learn what investment banking is, and who knows, you might get a call, but there's nothing to lose at all, right? So the next time you are in a situation where there's a barrier in front of you because of a buyer, you think that, my boss thinks that this is the way it should be done and I should open my mouth because he has all the bargaining power, and if I say something, I'll lose my job. Or if you're sitting in an interview and the interviewer asks you, why do you want to join my company? Say how he's going to benefit out of you joining his company. Try that. There's no harm in that. That's the barrier we create for ourselves. We think that the company is giving you a great opportunity. It's the other way around. If he was giving you a great opportunity, he wouldn't fly down to Kashipur, he wouldn't drive 7 hours to come here and interview you. You are the one who's going to add value to his company. That's why he's come here to recruit you, right? Makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah? So next time we are in a situation like that in life, if we see a barrier because of our spouse or our boss or our recruiter or anybody, think of how you can add value to them instead of thinking that, oh, they have all the bargaining power because they are a buyer and how do I please them? No, how do I add value to them, right? Third port of forces, threat of new entrants. So this threat runs in all of us. We are not very comfortable approaching people. Yeah, some are more natural than other, but most of us struggle approaching new people, right? It might be because of inferiority complex, fear of being judged is a big one. We don't really talk to people about what we believe in or what we want to do. We won't share our ideas. If you want to be an entrepreneur, this is the greatest fact that's going on. I'll not tell my idea to anybody, otherwise they'll copy it. Yeah? A lot of people have had that thought in their head that they'll copy me, I won't share my idea. It doesn't work like that. If you share your ideas are there all around. Anybody can just Google top 10 ideas to do business in India and they'll get a plethora of ideas, right? It's not about the idea, it's about what you've thought about it and how you're going to execute it, and there are 100 different things, right? But we don't talk to people because we have this complex that, oh, if I let somebody else in my life, is he going to take something away from me? We never think of, oh, if there's somebody else coming in my life, who might actually add value to me, right? So if you're running a company, compare it to running a company, would you not hire smarter people? You started a company, you are the entrepreneur, the CEO of the company, you're brilliant at technology, you're brilliant at coding, you don't know sales or marketing, Would you hire a smarter person who knows marketing and sales for your company because it's good for your company? Would you do that?
Yes.
Yeah? So why not in our lives? Why do we create that barrier that, hey, this guy is smarter than me, but I really don't want to share ideas with him? Do we create that barrier sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah? We don't really openly share our ideas and, or I think a lot of us, we work in group projects, right, in MBA? Yeah? How does the group project dynamic work? There's usually one guy who does all the work, the rest of them free roam, right? That is the perception of group activities, right? It's not really true, If somebody is the one who's working the most, it's his choice, If somebody is free riding, it's his choice, He might not get benefit out of free riding, He might get a good grade, but that's it, he didn't learn anything out of it, yeah? So if you're the one who's working the most in the group, be happy, it's okay. You're doing the most work, you're learning the most. If you're free riding, good for you, you're not learning anything from it, right? So these are the barriers that we create for ourselves, that I'll not participate in the group because, the other person is working and I can free ride, That is the barrier in our head that I don't really need to work to gain something. That's not true. You'll have to always work if you want to gain something out of it, right? If you're running a company, would you not acquire, partner or learn from a strong new entrant? Apple came up with the flashes of smartphones. If Samsung, Nokia, all the other companies had decided कि boss, इसने तो smartphone launch कर दिया है, we'll launch something else. That smartphone market has to die. No, what did Samsung, all the other competitors did? They came up with smartphones themselves, right? They aspired to create a product that would compete with Apple, right? So if a new entrant comes into your life who you think is smarter than you or who's changed your perspective or can add value to your life, why do we create that barrier and not let that person enter? We will do that if you're running a company. Why not do it when we're running ourselves as an individual, right? Threat of substitutes, but it's pretty much related to threat of new entrants. Something has worked for us in the past. There's a way of working. I study hard, I get good grades. It's worked for me. In graduation, I'll study hard, I'll get good grades in MBA, and that's going to sort out my life. That is how we work. If something's worked for us in the past, we think that it's going to continue to work for us in the future, right? But does that really happen in the competitive market or the corporate market? No, right? You had Walkmans. In a day, Walkmans just died. right? Because a substitute came in, right? CDs, floppy disk. Have you even seen a floppy disk in your life?
Yes.
Yeah? Have you seen one recently? Yeah? What happened? The floppy disk manufacturer or the Walkman manufacturer said that, no boss, you have to buy this Walkman. I don't care what other options are available in the market, you have to buy my Walkman. Nobody bought that, right? So if a way of doing something changes, you will have to change yourself with it. There's no other way. If you're running a company, you would do it. If you're running yourself, why not do that? If certain way of working or functioning, your ideology, your a career path that you chose, you chose to be an investment banker. In a year you realize that no, I cannot be an investment banker. Why can't you change? You'll have to change, right? If you are not good at it, you're not happy doing it, but you still persist with it. Why? It will just lead to a slow death, like it did for Walkmans, CDs, and floppy disks, right? So next time, whenever there's a thread of substitute in your life, you're thinking that this is work for me, I'm not going to change because somebody else has just told me this. What if I do this and somebody else is better at it? This thought also comes into our mind a lot. If you want to be, choose a very different career path. You want to go into advertising or you want to do something creative, and you think there's so many people already doing it, so many people who already have a professional degree for it. How am I going to compete with them? That is the thought that comes to our mind. We already substituted ourselves with people that we don't even know. We just thought that they have professional degrees and therefore they're better than us, right? So that it doesn't really work like that. If you really want to do something, why not try it out? If it doesn't work out, you can move on to the next thing. But at least in your head, you know that I gave it a shot and it didn't work, right? Coming on to the last one, industrial rivalry. This is the most important. So I've equated this to internal rivalry. What goes on in our mind when we're thinking of doing something, which might be an idea, a passion, a dream, or a way of doing things, anything, your individuality. So internal rivalry, the biggest thing that we all face is fear of failure, right? Do we?
Yes.
Yes. And this time the yes is louder than the first, second yes. Okay? So we are all afraid to fail, because since you were a child, you've been wired that way, that compete, run, get good grades, get a good job, settle down, and we haven't really failed, right? Most of the people sitting at an IIM haven't really failed in life. You've been studying since you were young, since you can remember, and you studied, you got good grades, you got good college, you got a good job, then you got another good college. You haven't really seen failure, right? I hadn't seen failure before I had started a company. I was thought that I was almost entitled to success because what people told me is the way to success. I had done all of that, every box was checked, great at studies, great at extracurricular activities, great at everything. Success felt like an entitlement that I'll definitely get there. I hadn't seen failure. A lot of us haven't seen failure, and we are very afraid to fail. That is why we don't try out different things. We create that barrier in front of our eyes that if I do this and if I fail, oh my God, life is over. Right? Do you get that feeling somehow? Anybody who's failed in life at something, and failure is not like I wanted to get 90, I got 85. That's not failure. Anybody who thinks that they miserably failed in life at something. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you guys okay now? Are you guys okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Moving ahead? Yeah? So it's not that bad, right? You tried something out, you failed, you moved on, right? But what happens is we have this notion of definitions, words and definitions that really impact us. We have a definition of success, we have a definition of failure, and it's very strongly ingrained in the way we think. Failure is a very, very negative word. Success is a beautiful word, right? But if you look at history, words have lost meaning over time. So two fun facts here. Fun, the word fun, we all love to have fun. Fun started as a verb meaning to cheat or to hoax. That was the meaning of fun a few years back. Not maybe a few years, I'm exaggerating, a few decades or a few centuries back. That was the meaning of fun. What is the meaning of sad? Sad started with the meaning of satisfied. So isn't that funny? We want to have fun all day, and if you want to have fun all day a few decades or a few centuries ago, you would be seen as a crook or a cheat. And if you are sad right now, but if you were sad a few centuries back, you would have been seen as a very satisfied guy. So is it really worth living our lives based on definitions of words? What if a few years down the line this happens? The definition of failure becomes a person who takes risks, tries new things and learns quickly from suboptimal outcomes. Very scientific definition, right? What if this becomes the definition of failure? What if the definition of well settled becomes a person who chooses to survive rather than to thrive? What are we going to do then? If you think about, I'm going to be well settled at 10 years down the line, nobody cares that you're well settled, because well settled means that you just wanted to survive. And you've hidden your failures from everybody right now. You don't admit your failures to anybody. You don't want to think about failure because you think it's a very negative word. But 10 years down the line, when everybody is praising the guy who fails, then you suddenly come out of the closet and tell them, hey, I failed 10 years ago. I should also be successful. I should also be seen as a successful guy in life. It will be too late by then. So that's the thought I just want to leave you with. That don't stick to words, definitions, they lose meaning over time. And if there's anything that is stopping you from doing what you want to do, don't get frustrated with it. Don't blame others. It's not about others. It's about you. So identify your barriers. Porter's 5 forces was just a fun way of doing it, but there are a lot of other mental frameworks that you can use, right? To think about what is really stopping you from doing what you want to do, and is it really worth it? I'll just leave you with that thought, and just the last thought that think of your life as a movie, and which is being filmed all the time, and you're writing its plot. What kind of movie would you like to make? Thank you.